Kaji saying, Superda saying, WoW is my second home. Even if it's burning, it feels devastated / depressing, losing all I gain to change the game. So I just quit MMOs. I'm a Wrath baby. It's that thing, like, I'm not a Wrath baby, but I came into my own during Wrath of the Lich King. And it's like, I totally get the feeling. I mean, right now, the way WoW feels is very different to you're on the boat to the Howling Fjord, right? Yeah. So it's that sort of thing. Like, yeah, I'm taking the bits that I can enjoy and I'm playing the fuck out of them. But, you know, I'm depressed about the other stuff. It's tricky. I guess it's just that thing where WoW, you know, I could monogame that. Whereas now for me, WoW is like, is it Mythic Night? Like Mythic Dungeon Night? Or is it Raid Night? It's like, that's the stuff I'm really in for. Yeah. But the other stuff, yeah, it does just get me less. And I'm certainly going to advocate, you know, I'm going to advocate that we... You know, that WoW is a more complete feeling game. So, you know, people seem surprised about that, but there you go. I think if it was spouting a whole bunch of bullshit, then people would probably, you know, tell us to fuck off because it would be ridiculous. That's the thing, right?
Yeah, almost certainly. Like, I mean, I think one of the important things is friends lists, I find. Because one of the things I've had to sort of struggle with is, you know, logging on first and then getting a load of people into play, as opposed to people already exist there. And that's kind of one of the things where if you see an empty friends list, you're like, well, who's online? No one's about. Not going to log on. Versus the case of your friends list is first full. You'll know people will be around to actually do stuff. So I think that's one of the difficult things is kind of you need people to be there in order for like what do you call it? Like spontaneous group activities to occur. You need that place. I mean, was it even on Warcraft yesterday? You were talking about PvP, and the Richard Asman was talking about like people used to hang out on the wall in Mists.
Yeah. And like that was good for me to hear because I was never much of a PvP community person. Like the most I had interacted with the PvP community was Swifty in a paid promo convincing me to buy a Razor Naga. Years ago when I was a kid and it was like Wrath or whatever. Which, you know what? I know it was paid promo, but I had a good time with that mouse. Absolutely legendary. And that is a big thing, yeah, the PvPers getting their shared space. I thought that was a cool part of Borealis, actually. I loved how there's like a little PvP area and a little fighting ring. I think they could do more there. And I really hope they do because a lot to think about there. And like that thing on the wall, it's like I don't think that was even super prescriptive. Is prescriptive the word? I don't think that was like a super intended thing. It just naturally popped up.
It was outside. There were PvP vendors there. What's going to happen?
Yeah.
People going to PvP there.
I'm just thinking, there you go. What happens if, you know, just a small group of people at Blizz, right, they get some assets, they think, okay, we're going to make a PvP hangout area. Let's make it as cool as we can. Yeah. And, you know, there's loads of different narrative framings. I mean, just ways you could do that. You know, if it's an expansion where it's the Horde and the Alliance, but they're not necessarily fighting each other, you could totally do that PvP thing as like a sort of a shared space. Like imagine if you had this like crazy broker area in, you know, imagine you've got these like little brokers nestled away in Oribos and like, hey, come over here. You go through a little portal and you're into this like Tazavesh kit styled like big PvP competition area where the Alliance and the Horde can just, you know, chill out, have some fun, do some PvP, have some vendors. Like, man, that would be so cool.
Yeah, that's the stuff that would make World of Warcraft feel more homely in than the current kind of case with the instance-heavy content. Because even then, instance-heavy content doesn't necessarily mean there's no hangout spaces. It's kind of it's almost like the Tower in Destiny 2, where if you had that, but more actual gameplay oriented, it would be really, really cool. Just to actually have something to do there. Like, I mean, it's like even the layout of where like the training dummies are and all, they're not really useful or interesting. Whereas, you know, even on even in Borealis, you used to go over, there'd be a new patch drop and you would go over to the training dummies and you'd see a load of people there doing training dummy stuff. And you're like, oh, I guess this is, you know, these are people who are trying out new rotations or trying out like new talents and stuff like that. And I thought that stuff was really cool.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, but well, before we move on, I'm just going to address one thing in chat. Yes, cameras, better. These cameras have all been replaced with significantly better cameras, and that's why I have a very ginger beard. It's funny, it actually, the longer it grows out, the more ginger it gets.
Hang on, I can help you, man.
All right.
Hang on.
I have no idea what he's doing, by the
Where
way.
is it? No.
What's he got? Oh, has he lost it?
Okay, so.
Yep.
Right. It's not Chaos Black.
Yeah, just.
Is this the solution?
No, I don't think it is.
Ah, darn.
Yeah, no, it's a case of like my hair's really dark, but my beard grows out ginger, and that's just the curse of this ethnicity, I guess.
That's
how it is.
an Irish man thing, isn't it?
Yep, almost certainly.
Yeah.
Very funny.
Oh, man. So Faldra in GW2 dropped a super. Said FF14 is a rare game that actually made me sit down and contemplate events after beating a boss in Shadowbringers. Hard to think of a similar moment in WoW that made me feel the same. And that is an interesting one. And I have had those moments in WoW. Like there's some parts like the Azaria story where you stop and you have a little think about, what happened. When Varian died. Right? I thought like that Varian cinematic was just handled perfectly. Sylvanas taking up the leadership of the Horde. Like when that was actually framed, the way that it was framed there, I was like, oh, okay, this could actually, I don't really like where it went after that, but those are like moments that really made me think. That said, like it's that thing, I've not done the Shadowbringers content or any of the FF expansion content, so I do not know. I certainly hear though a lot, and if I was to speculate in what it is based on my limited ARR experience, it would just be that you spend just a lot more time doing RPG style dialogue with characters, and I think that just means you're going to be more invested. Plus, stuff's well written, so well written, well translated, narratively designed well.
Yeah, it's very fun because I've recently been going through a couple of the older things, like the older bits of quest text, little bits of like almost the really super tiny details that I personally missed when I was playing through Shadowbringers that other people are highlighting. Even place names, bits of dialogue from 2.0 that's brought up to 5.0, 5.3. I'm just like, god damn. And it's just the people who remember that, you can tell the people who are bringing this up now are those people who have played New Game Plus of 2.0 recently or really remembered the dialogue because of how it's delivered. And it just has this thing where it's just I guess it is just immaculately written, even if it is mostly listening to dialogue or reading dialogue, because voice acting's not super heavy till much later.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what happens when they swap it over to the new voice actors in the expansions.
Oh, it's night and day.
Yeah, so I hear. I've not heard the new voice acting on purpose because I don't want to spoil myself on that stuff, but it is a bit weird that like expansion happens, people sound different.
It's very jarring, exceedingly jarring.
I mean, it seems like it was the right play.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of thoughts on it, but how do I put this correctly? So I almost had an awakening to. I haven't actually went and listened to lots of them, but I've been watching a lot more like British kind of TV stuff on YouTube and seeing like a lot of kind of more classical actors exist. I'm just like, oh, I can see almost like the comedian circuit on like British TV shows, where they'll do all of the panel shows, and you'll see them like consistently hone their skills, and then they'll do panel show rotations for like years, and then they'll drop like a special or something, or like a tour that's really, really like impeccably honed, and you can tell it's because they've had this little like almost this little circuit of stuff where it's all hyper public, but it's like brutal, where you need to be good enough to earn the spot on this panel show. The radio and like drama actors do the same thing with like radio shows and stuff, so they have that constant practice against all this stuff. And then that's why, because the reason I'm bringing this stuff up is because the new voice actors are mostly like kind of British actors,
yeah,
and all like heavily involved in BBC radio stuff, and you can tell that the style of the dialogue being that kind of older English style, and how those voice actors are trained in comparison to American voice actors who are kind of more filmic in a way, and a little bit more like in the video game side of things.
Yeah,
a lot of these people have like almost no credits in video games. They're just radio. They're British radio people.
How did it go down like that? Like, how do they find them? What made them change? Like, I wonder.
I think it might have been two things primarily, maybe three. Number one is I feel like the voice acting in 2.0 was very hit and miss. Like, it was done fairly quickly.
Yeah, fair.
And then I think the second one is probably cost, because I believe it was the Screen Actors Guild they moved away from using voice actors connected to that.
Right.
And obviously the point is, if you use a Screen Actor Guild person in your production, you basically have to use all of them.
Oh.
There's something like that.
Okay, interesting.
Where if you can't have people from outside that clique in your production, you have to populate with them. But that like lets them be significantly more expensive because they have like a corner on the market, especially because they use a lot of like bigger name American VAs versus using a whole bunch of nobodies from radio dramas and stuff. But they're so much better suited to it. But I think it's like
that's interesting.
Really cool. And it might also just be the like a localization decision to go kind of more Englishy for Heavensward in particular, because it's all, it's all French nights and stuff. But it was very, 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 very good. Very, very good move, generally.